Oh man, you know when you're in the pool and then you're dead? Deadpool. Just watched it. This is my vlog reaction to it. Alright, let's get it going. Deadpool was fine. Uh, that's about it. It was fine. Of the three big superhero pseudo-parody comedy films that are rated R, very, very long title for this type of film, but bear with me. I would rank them right now Kick-Ass, Super, Deadpool. I think that's the hierarchy. Now, I could easily be missing other ones too, but I think those are the three big ones. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah, out of those three, I think it's the least. I think the film suffers a bit from lack of a purpose. You know what I mean? I feel like Kick-Ass and I feel like Super had a purpose. Like I feel like they were saying things and they had an idea about what they were doing. They had an idea about what they wanted to say. They had an idea about what they were trying to say about like the superhero genre or whatever. And I also think they were funnier. To be honest with you, I know that's subjective. Everything's subjective. It's what a review is. But especially humor. I just found those two funnier. And I feel like they had plots. So I really feel like Deadpool did not have a plot, or rather, it had a very basic plot. And now, of course, you could say that that's part of the joke. But I personally don't think the joke that Deadpool was making, sort of on a meta level about the superhero genre. First of all, I don't think it was trying to say too much about the genre as a whole. I don't think this is a deconstruction film or anything, like I've heard some claim. There's definitely a little bit of that there, and I feel like it was dated. And I know this film came out in 2016. I'm just getting around to it now. Don't shoot me. But even in 2016, I think a lot of the jokes that the film was making at the expense of the genre were dated. I honestly, and you guys are gonna shoot me for this. You guys are gonna pull a Deadpool on me. And go, I got 12 bullets. You know, that's what you're gonna do to me. You say, I got 12 bullets, homie. Let's count them. But legit. I think it felt like a 2000s superhero movie. Maybe that was the point. Maybe that was the point. Maybe because it is in the X-Men universe, which has been struggling to find a real footing as far as atone for itself goes, and that's one of the things I actually love about the X-Men universe now. Like I used to hate the X-Men universe, but I actually think that that's one of its strongest assets right now is the fact that it doesn't have an identity. Because in one side of the X-Men universe, you have these X-Men movies, which are, they are the by the numbers 2000 superhero movie. They defined the 2000 superhero movie, and then you have Logan, which is an excellent character study, as well as an excellent pseudo-western, just an excellent film. Though you certainly wouldn't confuse it for the 2000s X-Men movies. And then you have Legion, which is just, in my opinion at least, the best thing to happen to the superhero genre, like, period, maybe. It's up there. But it's totally different from even those two things. It's, Deadpool, not Deadpool, Legion is very, best way to describe it is like if Wes Anderson made a superhero movie and that superhero movie Wes Anderson made was like looked over by David Lynch. Like they collaborated maybe. Think of it as a collab project between David Lynch, Stanley Kubrick, and Wes Anderson. And that's Legion, right? Very trippy, very weird, very artistic. But you wouldn't confuse it for Logan or X-Men. And now you have Deadpool, which is this super raunchy, R-rated, he swears every other line, lots of blood, guts, he kicks a guy's head like a soccer ball. You know, he just goes, kick, you know? He does that. But you wouldn't confuse Deadpool for any of the things I just mentioned. And then, of course, you have The Gifted and blah, 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 First Class. The X-Men series is very diverse, and I think that's one of its strongest suits. But the thing with Deadpool is, I feel like, if anything, it was going for the first 3 X-Men movies, like that general area of sort of where it was, certainly aesthetically, but I would also argue, I don't know if tonally would be the word, but I'm gonna say tonally, though it's definitely not what I meant to say. Yeah, it feels like a 2000 superhero movie. Even down to the humor. The humor is not clever. The humor is not particularly well done. I'm gonna be honest. Some of it lands. It's is it modus operandi? Whatever. Just the mindset that they have going into this movie. It seems the writers and Ryan Reynolds, the director, whoever was in charge. What they seem to have done with this movie is throw every joke they can at the wall. Some of it'll stick, some of it won't. You know, they try. I mean, literally, like the movie doesn't take a breath. It is constantly firing. I just didn't find most of the jokes to be particularly funny, largely because they were sort of lowest common denominator, very, very easy jokes that I just didn't find too clever or anything. Like I said, some of the commentary on the superhero genre just felt a bit dated. Like they were remarking on the X-Men movies from the 2000s, if anything, which is, it's all coming back around. It's all coming back around, all my complaints, all my criticisms, all my thoughts. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds, he does a fine job as Deadpool. He is Deadpool. I have to give him that. I still prefer Nolan North. I think Nolan North is the best Deadpool still, which is actually why I avoided this movie for so long, is because I was afraid he wouldn't stack up to Nolan North. He like I said, he's no Nolan North, but he is very much Deadpool. He is very much the character. He has an understanding of what is Deadpool, of who Deadpool is. He does a fine job. Ryan Reynolds does a fine job. The love story was surprisingly well done, actually. Surprisingly well done. Maybe one of the only genuinely subversive things about the film is that it is a surprisingly touching love story. But I just don't feel like that was enough to save it. Because there's tons of great superhero love stories. Like I said, this one has the distinction of being a little bit subversive because, rather than like the typical like girl next door, Mary Jane type, which by the way, Mary Jane was actually supposed to be a little bit more of a spicy gal if you were into the comics, but anyway, in the films, anyway, she's a girl next door, very good girl. So is Jane Foster, etc., etc. Deadpool's girlfriend is a stripper, like. So it's a little bit subversive there, but overall, and they have great chemistry, but I just don't feel like that one little distinction, that really unique thing about the film, not even that unique, but you know what I'm getting at. I feel like the jokes were weak most of the time. Sometimes they landed. I will say I was never bored during the movie. There was always something keeping me engaged, whether it was, like, oh god, it's gonna happen now, or haha, funny, I can't wait to another one. Whether it was one of those two modes, I was engaged the entire movie. So, Deadpool is a 6 out of 10 at best. Some really cool moments, but overall disappointing, but still a fun time. You know, things can be disappointing, but you can still acknowledge that they're good, or that they're well done, or whatever. And that's definitely how I feel about Deadpool. So, what did you think about Deadpool? I'm going to start doing these at the end of videos now, especially since I'm going to be on camera more often now. What did you think about Deadpool? I know I'm a bit late. And also make sure to ring the bell, subscribe, hit the like button, comment, you know, all that stuff. Anyway, bye.